Communications Minister to take electricity rollout plan to Cabinet. Boram Hospital to undergo major facelift. And gender-based violence cases rising in Morobe.
This is National MTV News with Morobe Tulo.
A very good evening. Thank you for joining us for Saturday's news. A government delegation is expected to visit India from December 11th to the 15th. The delegation, to be led by National Planning Minister Richard Maru, will be on a fact-finding mission purposely to address certain aspects to the PNG-India cooperation, explore potential investments in business and trade, mobilization of resources targeted at economic growth potential for the country. Minister Maru says government is working to support sectors including energy, information and communication technology, health, education, law and justice and capacity development. Papua New Guinea's national electricity rollout plan can only be achieved if there's consistent power supply. Communications Minister Sam Basil plans to take this plan to Cabinet for approval.
It's blessed in some sense because it's got an abundance of energy sources.
The major change in the energy revolution was discussed at the recent Ramu Grid Roundtable Stakeholders meeting in Madang.
You have this potential for probably one of the largest hydropower potential. Feasibility studies have been done on that for the Purari Dam project. And then within this, the El Cantaloupe is located in the same area, and you get almost 9 TCO of gas down there. If you drill down, you get condensate as well. So that's a beautiful snapshot of what can happen in a country like Papua New Guinea, where you get all these different sources of energy stratified in one little cross-section of a country. So that's the beauty about this. And on the northern coast of it, you have all these geothermal sites, and up in the highlands, you have these hydro potentials, and then you have the hydrocarbons and the coal deposits around the country.
The stakeholders meeting was an important avenue to address power requirements. He said industry should submit the profile demand and proposed solutions so that PNG Power can address them.
Profile from Wafi Golpu, escalating from 10 megawatts during construction to 56 during this first phase, then to 95 megawatts in the final phase. And then the Yandera probably needs another 170 megawatts or so. And Ramu Naiko probably needs, 25, whatever megawatts. How would we deal with all these power issues, and how would we provide the solutions to this demand that's coming?
Fabian Hakelitz, National MTV News.
Papua New Guinea's national electricity rollout plan can only be achieved if there's consistent power supply. Communications Minister Sam Basil plans to take this plan to Cabinet for approval.
Let them sell power if they have.
Minister Basil addressed the recent Ramu Grid Roundtable workshop for stakeholders in Madang. The National Development Strategic Plan 2030 projects that 70% of the population will access electricity. However, making electricity accessible and affordable remains a major challenge for the country.
Can do that, and under my ministry, if it's hard for PNG Power to provide service, we can open up for any companies to come and sell power like PNG Power.
The National Electricity Rollout Plan has the potential to contribute significantly, but only if it's resourced and implemented as outlined in the Alotau 2 Accord. This calls for the creation of a public-private partnership into the energy sector to improve and upgrade the provision of accessible, reliable and affordable electricity.
Wholesale from you and let them sell power if they have to, because what people want is access to power.
Minister Basil would like clarity on the state's current policy intentions on the role of private sector investment for the generation and use of electricity. Fabian Hakelitz, National MTV News.
Boram Hospital in East Sepik Province come next year will undergo a major facelift to its infrastructure. This follows the signing of a loan between PNG government and the Czechoslovakia Exim Bank. National Planning Minister Richard Maru says Boram will become the referral hospital of the two provinces of East and West Sepik.
Boram was originally known as the WEWAK General Hospital after opening its doors in 1962. Since then, this health facility has been serving the people of East and West Sepik during the colonial days. However, in 2015, its declining status hit the headlines and was condemned by the health department. This signing yesterday in Port Moresby now signals a new era for Boram to be upgraded to a referral hospital.
It's the most rundown provincial referral hospital in the country, and each time the province got a facelift. The Boram Hospital will serve both East and West Sepik. So you're talking about 700,000 people having access to a referral hospital finally. So I want to thank the Prime Minister, our government, for finally giving recognition to the two Sepik provinces.
Treasurer and Deputy Prime Minister Charles Abel says the loan is a new establishment with the Czechoslovakia people and its government. Minister Abel says Boram will have a new structure to serve the people of East Sepik.
So this is another example of Papua New Guinea government accessing different sorts of concessional financing, because the interest rate is only 2% from other development partners, just like we are going to progress the line of credit from the Indian Exim Bank. So we need to have different partners on board so that we're not relying on one or two people only.
The loan is facilitated under the Vambit Health Project, a similar understanding which GOROKA Hospital has benefited from. Health Minister Sepuka Temu says for the next 5 years, development partners and the government will positively put their heads together for a better health system for PNG.
In February next year, we're going to have the partners meeting again on how to structure a SWAP, a sector-wide program. So all partners can contribute, and then we have common policies, our national health plan. We establish a common management system in health, common reporting, so the partnership and us are building our institutions up, institutions for procurement, service delivery, and etc., etc.
The loan instruments were signed by Treasurer Charles Abel, witnessed by Health Minister Sepuka Temu. Jack Lapava Jr., National MTV News.
National Planning Minister and Yangur Sausia MP Richard Maru says the national government is committed to increasing health workers' capacity. An emphasis will be opening many nursing colleges throughout the country to minimize the alarming health indicators. Mr. Maru says a nursing college will be built in WEWAK.
We are going to start building a new school of nursing in WEWAK next year. And my intention is to have a fully fledged degree program, a 4-year program. And I'm going to be talking to the health department and the Minister for Higher Education and his people to now have an international standard degree program for nursing as well. To the point where not only are we doing general nursing, but we must have specialist nurses in areas of specialization, like midwifery and the other areas that we need to attend to as well.
Raval Vocational Center in East New Britain Province has applauded the European Union for supporting the human resource capacity of the province. President of Rainberry Livuan LLG in the Gazelle district, on behalf of the people of East New Britain, also thanked the EU for previous funding assistance following the 1994 volcanic eruptions. Under the Human Resource Development Program, 257 graduated this week with certificates after 2 years of study. You're watching National MTV News. We'll be back with more after these messages. Stay tuned. Welcome back to National MTV News. The family PNG in Morobe province this year alone has reported increasing cases of gender-based violence. Family PNG is part of a larger group of stakeholders working to minimize this issue in the Family Sexual Violence Action Committee. Stakeholders and media personnel in Lae yesterday were given the opportunity to discuss how gender-based violence was addressed in the Yumi Olgeta event organized by the European Union and United Nations.
This is the first time the Yumi Olgeta event has been held outside of Port Moresby. It provided a platform for stakeholders in Lae, the police, NGOs and media personnel to discuss how gender-based violence is addressed and reported in the province.
A good opportunity to see the challenges that are faced by service providers here, faced by the media here.
UN's Gender Task Team Coordinator Danielle Winfrey says Morobe is a pioneer province in effectively implementing GBV strategies.
It's very encouraging and it shows best practice of how other provinces should be implementing their GBV, provincial GBV strategies also.
Morobe has a working family sexual violence committee that attends to cases of violence. Family PNG's operations manager Denga Ilave says the number of cases reported to them has increased this year.
It's a high-risk IPV, SV cases, intimate partner violence, sexual violence cases and child abuse cases that we get to see, and also sorcery cases.
Stakeholders in the province have been working closely to address these issues. Lay Metropolitan Commander Anthony Wegambi says reports of violence are given priority. 3 weeks ago, police officers were trained on how to respond to these cases.
Personnel are now more aware of how to deal with the first hand at any time of the day when there's a complaint being brought forward.
Sikopana, National MTV News.
The Future Leaders program, jointly delivered by the governments of Papua New Guinea and Australia, has championed positive change in the public service. Australia's Ambassador for Women and Girls, Dr. Shaman Stone, met with participants of the Pacific Leadership and Governance Precinct's Future Leaders program. Dr. Stone said public servants have to be incorruptible and act with honesty and integrity. She urged them to respect their job and work to implement policies for the delivery of services in Papua New Guinea. Moving on, a team of experts will investigate the water supply system for GOROKA town. National Planning Minister Richard Maru has allocated 257,000 kina for immediate assessments to be conducted.
Immediate action by the National Planning Minister has seen funds being allocated for critical assessments for the GOROKA water supply system. Last month, during question time in Parliament, Eastern Islands Governor Peter Numu raised the question on the GOROKA water supply system.
While the financial arrangement is going to take place, and we have the APEC meeting coming up next year, do you have any plans to cater for this?
Minister Maru said the national government is concerned about the quality of water supply in GOROKA town if it's safe according to WHO standards.
Mr. Speaker, I have written to the governor and asked that we look at offloading the management of GOROKA town water supply to water board, so that government got confidence that there are systems and processes and quality assurance staff to make sure that the water is produced under WHO standards, and I mean safe long residents of GOROKA. Mr. Speaker, we cannot allow one town long continue running water supply on its own. Two reasons. One, safety issue. We must guarantee that all towns and cities in the country and districts where you got district town water supply, they must safe.
The national government has allocated 257,000 kina to Water PNG to conduct an immediate assessment. Minister Maru says a subsequent remedial measure will be developed. Fabian Hakelitz, National MTV News.
Despite the economic slowdown, Chairman of the Innovative Agro Industries, Elon Weiss, said the business has doubled with projects in Port Moresby, Hela, Enga, and soon to be Sepik Plains in the East Sepik. The company is looking at being a major player within the agricultural sector.
Every downside has an upside. We are a Papua New Guinean producer, okay? First of all, we work in kina and we make our revenues in kina. So we're not in the queue for Forex. For our business sustainability, so we haven't, suffered too much on the Forex issues. In fact, our sales and revenues have grown in the last couple of years, more than 100% growth in revenues in the last couple of years. The 9 Mile farm, just an example, the business model was 6 tons a week. We're now doing on average 18 tons a week. So that's 3 times the original business plan. So, we're not complaining. We hope that the issues, the economical issues, will be resolved, obviously. But we've been faring quite well for these economic times.
It's 15 days to Christmas, however, an early one for street children in the nation's capital. More than 100 attended the Christmas Feed the Children event at Konidobo Oval this morning. Organizers say the program is to have the unfortunate children enjoy games, food and other entertainment. Music was available, including a martial arts exhibition and food and gift sharing. Organizers were pleased with the overwhelming attendance. Air Niugini has once again donated Christmas presents to Port Moresby General Hospital, over 150 gift bags as part of the Christmas gesture to bring smiles to the sick and less fortunate. Executive Manager Marketing, Nori Maniana, says this is part of the airline's community service obligation and they may look to for the rural outreach program. Lakekamu, a name of a village and river in East Kerma of Gulf Province, has been christened on one of the naval ships belonging to the PNG Defence Force. Although this name may not be popular to all, but in the World War II history, this river was an important blockade to the Japanese Allied forces, which prevented them to capturing Port Moresby during World War II. The christening was performed in a traditional ceremony witnessed by PNGDF personnel, Gulf Provincial Assembly members and villagers who turned out in numbers to celebrate this occasion.
It was a historical moment for the people of Lakekamu, singing and dancing to welcome the Navy ship. Lakekamu signifies the relationship between the local people and the PNG Defence Force.
Our ship HMPNJ's Lakekamu has come to its home to be received by its people and to be released into service for the rest of the country.
It's a proud moment for the people of Lakekamu with the name of their village and river christened on the Navy ship.
So on the date of decommissioning of HMS Labuan, the ship was recommissioned as HMPNGS Lakekamu into the Papua New Guinea Defence Force and the Maritime Element.
Gulf Governor Chris Iveta says the ship will give priority to the people of Gulf Province in terms of transporting supplies. He urged the Gulf Provincial Government to be transparent and change their attitudes to pave way for positive developments.
Now we will use this ship to bring those materials and others that we need, not only here, because here we will rebuild Malalawa High School. We will put extra classrooms to start the technical school that we want at Terapo.
Stacey Yalo, National EMTV News.
And while PNG welcomed its new naval vessel, Australia did a sad farewell today for a distinguished member of the Australian Navy. After 33 years of sterling service, HMAS Darwin has been retired, with crews, past and present, offering a final salute.
Well, Angie, it is the end of an era today for the Royal Australian Navy with the decommissioning of HMAS Darwin. The guided missile frigate started its service in 1984, making it the oldest ship in the fleet. Today at Sydney's Garden Island Naval Base, the Chief of Navy joined former and current crew and their families for a special ceremony to reflect on the Darwin's service to Australia in war and in peace.
I acknowledge your service has often been arduous. Frequently it has been dangerous, but remember it has always been worthwhile.
In 33 years, HMAS Darwin travelled all over the world, more than 1 million nautical miles, seeing service in the Persian Gulf with the Iraq invasion and operations in East Timor and the Solomon Islands. With the lowering of the white ensign, she became the former HMAS Darwin.
You have left behind a name that will long resonate in the history of the Navy and enable a tradition of excellence.
Ships like this have ended up as dive wrecks, but the Chief of Navy also says there's interest from other navies in taking her on. While the fate of this ship has yet to be officially decided, for the crew now it's some rest and recreation over Christmas before moving on to other ships and other duties. But they leave with the promise that one day there will be another ship in the Royal Australian Navy that will carry the name.
You're watching National EMTV News. Stories making headlines when we come back, including UN peacekeepers killed. That story after these messages. Welcome back to National EMTV News. Turning overseas now, at least 16 peacekeepers and more than 50 injured in what the United Nations has labelled as the worst attack in recent history. The deadly 3-hour fight broke out at the UN's mission base in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Islamic rebel forces in the area are believed to have staged the assault in what the UN has called a war crime. Reinforcement has been sent to the scene and medical evacuations are underway. Graphic video showing a man's final moments has emerged after a jury cleared the police officer who killed him. His body camera filmed the fatal shooting before the deadly bullet was fired. And a warning, some viewers may find this video confronting.
Newly released body cam video shows the final moments of Daniel Shaver's life.
Crawl towards me! Crawl towards me! Don't go!
The disturbing video made public after jurors found former Arizona police officer Philip Brailsford
not guilty.
During the trial, Brailsford told jurors he thought the father of two was reaching for a gun. His attorneys referencing a point in the video when Shaver appears to move his right hand towards his waistband.
When movements were made that are consistent with drawing a weapon, you have 1 second to make up your mind.
The shooting happened in 2016 at a hotel in Mesa, Arizona. Officers were called to the scene after reports of a man pointing a rifle out a window. According to officials, Shaver did have a pellet gun in his room, but he didn't have it on him when he was shot. In a Facebook post from 2016, Shaver's widow called for justice.
What happened was wrong, and I hope one day justice will come and the Mesa Police Department will give me answers for why they killed him.
She's now suing the Mesa Police Department for $75 million.
Frustrations have boiled over in a protest against the US president's decision to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. CNN with more.
The chants broke out shortly after Friday prayers ended inside the courtyard of the Al-Aqsa Mosque, Islam's third holiest site. The crowd vowing victory over the Jews. With our blood and our souls, we will sacrifice for Al-Aqsa, they shouted.
They've just started walking out. Of course, what everyone is concerned about, but also at the same time anticipating to a certain degree is that some sort of clashes will erupt, as they have on so many other occasions.
There is anger at the U.S., Israel, the Jews, but also other Muslim leaders, especially the Saudis, who, despite Saudi denials, many feel betrayed them. They gave their stamp of approval, this woman shouts. As the thousands poured into the picturesque narrow alleyways of Old Jerusalem, it did not take long for the confrontations to begin, although the day would end up to be considered to be measured by the standards here. For Palestinians and Muslims around the world, Trump's declaration that the United States recognizes Jerusalem as the capital of Israel was as if to proclaim that the Palestinians no longer have a claim to East Jerusalem as the capital of the state they have dreamt of for decades. And for Muslims, as if Jerusalem has no place for them. This is a city well accustomed to protests, clashes, detentions. There's almost a rehearsed back and forth, as if it were some sort of twisted game of cat and mouse, where spectators and shopkeepers dodge both the protesters and the Israeli security forces. But there is also a sense that things have been altered. This time is different. He wants to wrestle the bulls in Jerusalem, here, 64-year-old Fidyat Shweiki says, referring to Trump. Why does he need to plant his flag here? We feel that he is coming here to set the whole region on fire. There is rage, a feeling that a knife has been driven deeper into the wounds of injustice. And a profound sense of sorrow brought on by the reality that a two-state solution, peace, perhaps is more elusive than ever before.
It's a grand graduation on a shoestring budget. Some of the most disadvantaged Indigenous students who study at St. Joseph's Flexible Learning Center are graduating in years 11 and 12. Well, to celebrate, the school is showing its first ever formal graduation, and to help out, the community donated clothes for the students to wear.
Sprucing up for the big night.
But without money for formal wear or makeup, the Alice Springs community has stepped in to help.
You look fantastic, Reese.
While the boys put their best foot forward, the girls pull out all the stops.
Pretty good school. It helped me with a lot of stuff.
Russell Enalanga is the first person in his family to graduate Year 11 or go to a school formal.
My parents will be proud. As siblings, probably proud as well, of course. Just looking forward to having a good night tonight.
A lot of our young people come from trauma backgrounds. They have a lot of issues around homelessness, family members that experience domestic violence, substance abuse, yet they still come to this school and make it their own school.
Despite having troubles at home, the students are graduating in record numbers this year.
Often these students get a bad rap around town, however they are absolutely wonderful young men and women.
And just when they thought it couldn't get any better, the Parramatta Eels make a cameo.
Look at these pretty things.
The big night for the flexible learning students has finally arrived. There's a real buzz in the air. They're excited, they're dressed to the nines, and to make the night even more special, they've rolled out the red carpet.
I feel really excited. I just want to go get on the dance floor already.
An awesome night and a bright future.
Residents of a North Queensland town are prepared to take to the streets to push for action on what they say is a plague of bats. 200,000 flying foxes caused the closure of a public pool and 2 parks.
It's an annual occurrence, but Charters Towers locals say they've never seen flying fox numbers like this.
It's actually the stuff of nightmares. It is 200,000 bats in and around our CBD, which is horrific for our community.
The influx is chasing residents indoors. Judy Pattle is worried about her family's health, and cleaning has become a daily routine. She's had enough.
We cull kangaroos, we cull crocodiles, we cull other things, and the reason we cull things is to keep them at a manageable level and so that they don't become a menace to society.
Ms Pattle lives opposite Listener Park, a heritage-listed site and flying fox roost that council was forced to shut this week. Experts say the numbers aren't unusual and an abundance of flowering eucalypts is attracting the important pollinators to the town. They say the risks are minimal as long as they're left alone.
Realistically speaking, there's not much of a risk to health. Hendra is one which people mention a lot, but in reality that's a problem of dealing with horses rather than bats.
Dr Luley says the bats will move on, perhaps in a matter of weeks, but some locals say their lives are affected for months.
Us as residents have children that we cannot afford to have them go out into their own playground.
The Department of Environment and Heritage Protection says it's working closely with the Charters Towers Regional Council to manage the flying foxes. The council says it will lobby the state and federal governments to find long-term solutions for its residents. The council is seeking suggestions from residents through an online survey which closes just before Christmas.
You're watching National MTV News. Trukai Sports is next, and PNG's weightlifters collect 9 gold in Singapore. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. We begin with powerlifting, and the medal tally for day 1 of the Oceania Championships and Pacific Invitational 2017 competition has seen PNG collecting 9 gold medals so far. PNG was represented by Livingstone Sikoli, who competed in the Masters 1 bench press event. Mary Peto and Henry Killer also bagged 4 gold each in their respective events. Godwin Eki files this report from Singapore.
In the morning sessions yesterday, Livingstone Sikoli, who won gold in Brisbane this year, was the first to lift the bar for PNG at this year's Oceania Pacific Invitational Powerlifting Championships. Sikoli's first bench press was very impressive as he pressed 140 kilograms successfully. Press! Back! His second and third press were a little too shaky especially at his second lift, and was given red light, regarded as no lift. Sikoli received the first gold medal for Team PNG.
Alright, photos. When me at least like kiss him now, feel confident long. Wait me kiss him straight long end. Next lift, me look him not lift time. Come start lightly long end, so me feeling more by mix him this finish now me go. Confident finish lo my area. Start lift him second one me fail long and same weight and me lift him long. Third lift but me walk him some by adjustment now me lift but little technical error at all. Walk him now give me red light.
In the afternoon sessions, PNG bagged 8 more gold medals in the Masters category, bringing the total number of gold in day 1 of the PNG's participation to 9. These medals were picked up by Henry Kello and Demary Peto in the Masters category. The only other athlete that competed today was world powerlifting icon Linda Paulsen in the Women's Open Division under 72 kilograms. Sponsor KK Kingston and President Michael Kingston congratulated the athletes who won gold earlier this morning. Team manager Phil Priceley was also very happy with the performance of his athletes. Most of the athletes will all compete tomorrow. Godwin Eki, National EMTV Sports, Singapore.
To the Mini Pacific Games in Vanuatu now, PNG weightlifters Dika Toa, Thelma Toa, Morea Baru, Stephen Curry, Toa Udia and Lorraine Harry have collected medals, giving themselves a good boost for next year's Commonwealth Games. After falling short of medals at the Asian Games in Turkmenistan, both finished on 5th place. The Toa sisters came back stronger, with Dika taking out 3 gold medals in the 53 kg category and Thelma with another 3 gold in the 42 kg category. Morea Baru and Stephen Curry bagged 6 gold medals, while Toa Udia took out 2 gold medals and a silver. And the youngest of them all, Lorraine Harry, gave a strong performance, collecting 3 silver medals. With this mini games being their final stepping stone before the Commonwealth Games, this has definitely given PNG a lot to look forward to come April next year. To cricket now, Hebo PNG Barramundis had a heartbreaking 23-run loss in round 7 of the World Cricket League Championship against Hong Kong in Dubai. Their second ODI saw another 93-run loss. These losses came at the cost of them losing their chances of winning the WCLC and gain the 13th spot in the new ICC One Day International League. A special celebration was held at the Melbourne Cricket Grounds today to celebrate Bill Rudd's 100th birthday. The centenarian has plenty of stories to tell, among them fighting in World War II and escaping from a prison camp in Italy.
Remember me, and some people I'm liable to forget. Say, who are you? You know, and I don't like to do that.
And Trukai Sports continues after these messages, including Peru back for the FIFA World Cup next year. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. South Africa may not be hosting the 2023 Rugby World Cup, but at least they still do have the Sevens World Series that continues in Cape Town this weekend, and the host is hoping to continue their winning start on home soil. Their success contrasts sharply with the form of their 15-a-side Springboks team.
The future of South African rugby is being forged on pitches such as these. Players from the city's poorer districts are developing their skills within sight of the Cape Town Stadium, which will host the second leg of the Sevens World Series this weekend in front of a passionate sellout crowd. This is the man responsible for much of all that's positive about South African rugby at the moment. Neil Powell's Sevens team, known as the Blitzboks, made a winning start to their defence of the Sevens World Series in Dubai last weekend, and they are also targeting success in the Commonwealth Games and the Sevens Rugby World Cup this season.
Yeah, I think it meant a great world for us to win that World Series. I think something that we worked for 4 years. When I came into the system, I think we only managed to win it once before, and I was actually part of that team as a player, and now as a coach. So it was it's just great to finally get the reward for all the hard work.
The coach of South Africa's 15-a-side team, Alistair Coetzee, is under pressure. His side have won just 11 times in 25 tests. And there are a growing number of voices suggesting that Powell's coaching abilities could be used to revive the Springboks' fortunes. It's an issue he himself addressed at a news conference earlier this week.
I think it's just an assisting role more than coaching the Springbok 15s. I still got a contract with SA7 till 2020, and I think it's only in assisting the Springboks if they feel that we as a Springbok 7 setup can contribute in developing players.
Powell's inspiration, on and off the pitch, is a key factor for members of his talented squad.
The fact that he always wants us to do good and is a father figure to us, it's hard for us to disappoint, when you have family, you don't want to disappoint your mother, you don't want to disappoint your dad. So I think it's hard for us to disappoint him, but like sometimes he mess it up, and like a father, he loves us back and we try again.
115,000 fans flocked to the Cape Town Sevens in 2016, and this year tickets for the two-day tournament sold out in just a couple of hours. Those not fortunate enough to secure a seat will join a global audience to watch the spectacle of the Blitzboks continuing their campaign to put a smile on the face of South African rugby fans.
The Peruvian national football team have qualified for the first World Cup next year in Russia since the Spanish tournament in 1982, triggering scenes of huge joy in the South African country, which celebrated after snapping the 35-year drought in a truly remarkable fashion. And there was massive joy in Lima.
Joy in the South American country, which celebrated snapping that 35-year-plus drought. Just look at that, in truly memorable fashion. Scenes of massive joy there in Lima. I have to tell you, though, that joy has been dampened somewhat following news concerning their star striker. Paulo Guerrero is also their captain, and he's the all-time record goal scorer for Peru. But right now, it looks like he'll be missing the tournament after failing an anti-doping test for cocaine. Guerrero, who'll turn 34 early next month and could appeal the decision, plays his club football in Brazil. He'd been provisionally suspended by football's governing body, FIFA, after he tested positive initially following the game with Argentina back in October.
We go for a break now. When we come back, the weather details for Sunday.
True Kai Sports.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
A look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours in the southern region. Light rain expected in Daru, thundery showers for Port Moresby, Kerr and Kerema, showers and thunderstorms for Alatau and Popondetta. To the Momasi region, thundery showers expected in Lae, Wau and Vanimo, rain and showers for Medang and WEWAK. To the New Guinea Islands region, thundery showers expected in Lorengau, Kimbe and Buka, rain and thunderstorms as well for Kavieng, Kokopo and Rabaul. And in the Highlands region, Mount Hagen, Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabeg, all these major centers can expect thundery showers over the next 24 hours.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
And before we go, a recap of our top stories tonight. Communications Minister to take electricity rollout plan to Cabinet, Boram Hospital to undergo major facelift, and gender-based violence cases rising in Morobe. And that's the news, sport and weather for today, Saturday, the 9th of December 2017. On behalf of the EMTV News team, pleasant viewing. Good night.